right, once again, thank you everyone for joining us. And good evening, and welcome to the Sheikh Abdullah Salim Cultural Center series of talks with the Kuwait Institute of Scientific Research, KISR. Thank you for joining us. I'm Al-Anuda Sharhan from the Education Department, and I will be the talk moderator this evening. The talk will be for 45 minutes, and the last 15 minutes will be for discussion and questions. Our guest for this evening is Dr. Abdullah Al-Matouq. Dr. Abdullah boasts an impressive resume. He has a PhD in civil engineering and is currently an associate research scientist in the Water Research Center at KISR. His research experience includes wastewater treatment and reuse, industrial wastewater treatment, microbial fuel cells, and microbial electrolysis cells, and so much more. And today, he will be talking to us about the active reuse of wastewater. It's a pleasure to have you, Dr. Abdullah. The mic is yours.
Thank you so much. Good evening, and thanks for having me here today. I'm so glad to give a talk about the active reuse of wastewater, the talk series of Sheikh Abdullah Salim Cultural Center. So I think we can start directly. This is the content of the presentation. We will start up giving a brief background of the current status in Kuwait, the sources of potable water, the resources of water in Kuwait. Then we will move to the introduction. I will give you a brief introduction about the wastewater treatment. What is the wastewater and what the types of wastewater? Then we will move to wastewater treatment processes, especially in Kuwait. Then we will talk about Kuwait wastewater treatment plants and what are the reuse applications that we can use the treated wastewater. And finally, we will talk about some wastewater as a source of energy and source of different things that we can extract and recover from wastewater. Well, I've been asked this question for many times. What are the main natural sources of Kuwait, the source of water in Kuwait? Well, to be honest, Kuwait has a serious water problem that can become a real crisis in the near future, where Kuwait is placed among the 9th of the highest ranking countries that facing extremely high water risk by 2040. Desalinated seawater is the main source of potable water in Kuwait. Besides desalinated seawater, we have some brackish wells, low salinity brackish wells. In addition of that, we have some groundwater wells that can be used, but they are limited. So if we want to just give you a brief number of what is the consumption of potable water here in Kuwait per person, you will be amazed by that our consumption is one of the highest consumption around the world. If you can imagine that we consume around 447 liters per person per day. And if we compare that number to different countries such as UK and Singapore, they are consuming around 150 liters per day. So there is a big gap between us and them. We are consuming a huge amount of water. So if we can just ask this question, what's the main source of potable water in Kuwait? As I said earlier, that desalinated seawater is the main source of fresh water. And by the way, we are using a multi-stage flashing process in the desalination plants in Kuwait. And in this process, the water desalination process that distills in the seawater by flashing a portion of water in the into stream. And after that, we condensate the steam into water. And this process is so expensive. Kuwait desalination plant produce approximately 628 million imperial gallon per day. And that is a massive amount of water. The desalination process is expensive and it costs approximately 6 kd per 1,000 imperial gallon of water. Now, let me give you a brief introduction about wastewater. What is wastewater? Wastewater is a water that has been affected by domestic, commercial, and industrial uses. And where does wastewater come from? There are different sources of wastewater. For example, if we take homes, the sources of wastewater in the homes from toilets, from sinks, baths, drains, kitchen, and there are different sources of wastewater such as industry, schools, businesses, chemicals, and other waste from factories. food service operation, airport, shopping centers. Can you imagine the amount of wastewater that is generated from all of these sources? So it's a huge amount of wastewater. What does the wastewater contain? The wastewater contains different contaminants and pollutants such as human waste, food, oils, detergents, and chemicals. And there are common pollutants and contaminants that can be found in domestic and industrial wastewater, such as solids. We can find piece of sticks, a piece of wood, piece of metals, chairs. You can find in the sewer system. We can find gases. Well, usually bacteria in wastewater produce different gases, such as hydrogen sulfide, methane gas, fat, oils, grease. This comes from the food industry, restaurant. Also, we can find the nutrients, such as phosphorus and nitrogen. We can find toxic organics, usually comes from industrial, and hydrocarbons, which comes from petroleum industry. And also we can find heavy metals such as silver, gold, platinum, and we can find that in industrial streams from batteries industry, from filterizers industry. Why do we need to treat wastewater? That's the most important question. Why do we need to treat wastewater? We need to treat wastewater to protect the land and water resources and minimize the discharge of contaminants to our environment. And we need to also treat wastewater to protect our aquatic life. We don't want to see this view as the picture, the dead fish around in our environment. We want to remove the odor and hazard gases such as hydrogen sulfide from the surrounding system of the treatment plant. So, because these gases are dangerous and hazardous to our health. Also, we want to remove waterborne diseases such as cholera and typhoid. So, treating wastewater is a very important process in our life. Well, wastewater in Kuwait, there are more than 1 million cubic meter of wastewater is generated every day, which is estimated to be 70 to 80% of the freshwater consumption. Well, the wastewater contains two parts, the solid part and the water part. The solid parts represent 1% of the 100%, and the rest, the 99, is the water. Now, let me just give you a brief about how many wastewater treatment plants in Kuwait and where are the location of our treatment plant. In Kuwait, we have 4 main treatment plants. And these plants are the domestic wastewater plants, which are treating the domestic waste from houses, from hospitals. So we have a Riga, which established in 1982, and the capacity of Riga treatment plants is around 180,000 cubic meter per day. Al-Hayman, which established in I think 2000, and the capacity of Al-Hayman is around 27,000 cubic meter per day. We have the Lmياه wastewater treatment plant, which is the most advanced treatment plant in Kuwait, and it's established in 2004, I think, or I'm not sure, but the capacity of the Lmياه treatment plant is around 600,000 cubic meter per day. And finally, we have CAP wastewater treatment plant, which established in 2012. And the capacity of CAP treatment plant is around 270,000 cubic meter per day. So, if we want to speak about the treatment processes in Kuwait, mostly our treatment plant in Kuwait have the common process or the common stages. All of them have the same common stages and the processes. There are 3 stages of the wastewater treatment process, known as primary treatment stage, then secondary treatment stage, then the tertiary treatment stage. In each stage, we are tackling a different pollutant and contaminant, and we can add also one more stage, which we can call it advanced treatment stage, that to use it for a specific application. So the more stages that we apply, the cleaner water that we can get. So it depends on how many stages we have to add or we have to use to get a clean water. I will go briefly through each stage and what does it contain and what contaminant we are tackling in each stage. So In the primary treatment stage, the primary stage contains screening rate removal and sand and grease removal. Firstly, when the wastewater enters the wastewater treatment plant, it reaches the coarse bar screens, which remove the large particles to enter the treatment plant. After the coarse bar screen, it's found another fine screens to remove the smaller objects such as cigarettes, match, and digested food. And we prevent all of these objects to enter the treatment plant to protect the pumpings from any object that can destroy the pumpings. And after the fine bars, it goes to the third stage, which is the gravel removal, a gravel chamber which removes the gravel and the grit from water. After the primary stage, we move to the secondary stage, which is the activated sludge. The activated sludge is the main process in the treatment plant. And this process is the basic process in all the treatment plants in Kuwait. It's based on natural process, which is bacteria is used to consume and biodegrade the organics and the carbon and the nutrients in the wastewater. Well, if we want to simplify, the bacteria acts as a cleaner. So it eats the biodegrade the organics and the pollutant in the wastewater. And the bacteria acts like the human. It needs oxygen. It needs foods, which is the pollutants and the contaminants, and it needs air to breathe. So air is supplied in this process, which is activated sludge. The air is supplied for two main reasons. First, to supply oxygen for respiration to the aerobic microorganism. Secondly, to maintain the microbial flux in a continuous state of agitated suspension, ensuring maximum contact between the surface of the bacteria and the wastewater. After the activated sludge, it's moved to the clarifiers. In the clarifiers stage, the clarifier stage represents its act like in the picture, the big circular tanks. The clarifiers play a crucial role in the treatment process, where the wastewater sludge mixture flow from the aeration basin, which is the activated sludge, into the secondary clarifier, where the sludge is settled, and the clean water flows and directed to the next process, where the sludge is accumulated and collected at the bottom of the clarifiers, and then some of it disposed in the treatment plant, and the other one is redirected to the activated sludge process, because this sludge contains a huge amount of bacteria, which we use it to degrade and eat the contaminants in the wastewater. After the secondary treatment, it's reached to the tertiary treatment. In the tertiary treatment stage, involves a series of additional processes after the secondary treatment to further reduce organic turbidity, nitrogen, phosphorus, and pathogens. Most of the processes involve some types of physiochemical treatment, such as filtration, activated carbon adsorption of organic, and additional of disinfection. In Kuwait, we use two main technology of disinfectant. We use chlorine and we use the UV light. Chlorination play a key role in the wastewater treatment process by removing pathogens and other physical and chemical impurities. On the other hand, the UV light, we use the UV light to provide a rapid, effective inactivation of microorganisms through a physical process. The retention time of the contact that's required to achieve disinfection varies from some seconds into minutes. It could reach hours. It depends on the process that we use to disinfect the wastewater. After the tertiary treatment process, we will move to the advanced treatment stage. By the way, we have only one treatment plant in Kuwait that use the advanced treatment stage, which is Sulaybiyah treatment plant. I will explain more in the following slides. So, in the advanced wastewater treatment method, we are merely remove all nutrients, suspended solids, dissolved solids, and all substance present in wastewater. we can use ultrafiltration or reverse osmosis in the advanced treatment process. When we use these processes, we will produce safe and clean water for a specific person. The outcome of these stages will produce a potable water that can be drinking. So we can transfer the wastewater from a waste into water that's able to be drinking. Well, reverse osmosis is one of the most used technology around the world and the most extensive filtration due to the small pore size. So there is nothing will pass the reverse osmosis. All the particles are tracked and tackled at this process. RO system removes salts, fluoride, total dissolved solids, harmful bacteria, viruses, and other contaminants from clean water. As you can see in this figure, if you can see the last bottom, which is the purple squares, it represents the different technology that can we use in the advanced treatment process, such as reverse osmosis, nanofiltration, ultrafiltration, and microfiltration. Well, if we want to attack or if we want to remove a specific contaminant, we have to look at this chart. So, for example, if we want to remove the pesticides, we have to find a technology that has a pore size less than 10 micron. So based on this graph, we can figure what is the best or the optimal technology that we can use to tackle or to treat the wastewater for using for a specific purposes or a specific application. As I mentioned earlier, we have 4 main treatment plants in Kuwait. We have Riga, Kebd, and Al-Hayman treatment plant are treating wastewater through 3 main stages, which is the primary, secondary, and the tertiary. We have only Lmياه wastewater treatment plants that treating wastewater through 4 stages, which is primary, secondary, tertiary, and advanced treatment, which is reverse osmosis RO. By the way, we have to mention that Lmياه wastewater treatment plant is the world's largest of its kind facility that use membrane technology to treat wastewater. And Lmياه is the only wastewater treatment plant in Kuwait that's able to convert the wastewater into potable water that can be drinkable. So what are the main advantages of reuse the treated wastewater? By using wastewater as a resource of water rather than a waste, we can reduce water bills. By this, I mean that instead of using desalinated water, which is so expensive a process, we can use treated wastewater, not for drinking, no, for a different application, such as for gardening, for irrigation, for toilet flushing, for different application. We can also reduce the consumption of water resources. We can save our water resources, such as the underground water, and keep it for the future. We can reduce the amount of pollution going into the waterway. We can save our environment and the aquatic life. Also, we can help save money on a new infrastructure for water supplies and wastewater treatment. If you want to know that the desalination process costs around 6 kd per 1,000 imperial gallon per imperial gallon, where the treated wastewater to the tertiary level costs 0.6 kd. It's around 10 times higher than the desalinated water. There's a big gap between the cost for desalination water and for treated water. So we can use a treated water for a different application and we can save a lot of money. Finally, decrease the demand on infrastructure for sewage transport, treatment, and disposal, allowing it to work better and last longer. But before the treatment process and we choose the best technology to treat the wastewater, there are different questions that we have to answer. First, which contaminants in wastewater should be removed? Are we looking for something? Are we want to use the treated wastewater for something, for a specific application? To what extent? What the range? What the concentration of these contaminants? And finally, where wastewater should be placed? What the application? What kind of application that we want to use the treated wastewater for it? And to answer all these questions, we should know the local condition of the country. We should also know the environmental risk, if there is any hazard to use the treated wastewater in this application or no. And also, we should know the economic feasibility. Is it economic to use treated wastewater instead of the desalinated seawater or no? So we have to answer this question to understand all the treatment processes. For example, these two tables from the Kuwait EPA. The first table on the left, it's the guidelines for water use for irrigation. So if we want to use the wastewater for irrigation, we have to treat it to reach these limits. And there is a maximum value. So we have to be sure that the contaminant in wastewater is below all of these values. On which is the table on the right side, it's the guidelines for water discharge into the Kuwait seawater. So we cannot discharge the wastewater directly to seawater. We have to treat it, and we have to achieve all of these parameters, and we are sure that all the concentration of the contaminant is below this level. After that, we can dispose or discharge the treated wastewater into the sea. So based on the application, we have to design our treatment plant and our treatment processes. These figures will summarize all. These figures give you the whole picture. So we will start from the potable water distribution, which is in Kuwait, the desalination plants. So it's started from here. The water goes or through to the network to the house. Then the house, the potable water will convert to wastewater, and the wastewater will be collected in the sewer system. The sewer system takes it and transfers it to the conventional wastewater treatment plant. We have to treat it to the tertiary level, and then we can discharge it to the sea or to the land. If we want to use it for different application, we have to apply the advanced treatment stage, and after that we can use it for irrigation or for energy or industrial uses. Or we can also store it or re-inject it in the underground water so we can use it in the near future. Well, if we want to integrate the treated wastewater to our community effectively, we have to give a close examination of the public health issue. By this, I mean we have to understand and identify all the hazards that can be exposed to the human if they use the treated wastewater. Second, we have to give infrastructure and the facility planning. Do we have the infrastructure to use the treated wastewater for this application or no? Thirdly, we have to understand the treatment process reliability. Is the process reliable or no? Finally, we have to understand the economic and financial analysis. So is it feasible to do all of these, or we have just to use the desalinated seawater and that's it? Well, there are different applications to use the treated wastewater, but in this presentation, I will focus on three main applications. First, the urban uses in the city. Secondly, the agricultural irrigation. And thirdly, the recreational uses. In the urban uses, we can categorize the treated wastewater in two main categories. The first category is the treated wastewater till the secondary level. And the second category is the tertiary level treated wastewater. And by now you should understand the difference between the secondary level and the tertiary level, where the more levels that we add, the cleaner water that we can get. So the secondary level treated wastewater, we can use it for irrigation for areas where public access is infrequent and controls, or we can use it for golf courses and cemeteries, where the tertiary treated wastewater can be used in landscape irrigation, such as park, playground, school yards. We can also use it for firefighting. We can connect it to different buildings, so we can use it for fire protection in case of fire occur. Also, we can redirect or re-inject our wastewater into the underground water, so we can improve our groundwater volume or capacity. Also, we can use the treated wastewater in industrial uses, such as cooling towers. We can cool the hot machines by using the cooling towers, and we can use it in the construction. We can apply it for the fountains. We can create new lakes, artificial lakes, provide the fountains with the treated wastewater. We can use it in buildings for toilet flushing. In Japan, they are applying this technology where the houses is connected to the treated wastewater, so they can use treated wastewater to the tertiary level in the flushing. So instead of using potable water, which is a very clean water for flushing the toilet, we can use it treated wastewater. On the other hand, in the agriculture irrigation, we can use the secondary level treated wastewater in the fodder, seed crops, pastures, suit farms. By this, I mean, we can irrigate the farms or the plants for not consumed by humans. So we can provide all different kinds of plants with the treated wastewater. But at the tertiary level treated wastewater, we can use it for crops grown for human consumption and consumed uncooked, such as lettuce, corn, different vegetables. We can use it. We can use the treated wastewater in this type of crops. In addition of recreational uses, we can use the treated or the secondary level treated wastewater in the fishing, boating, and other non-contact recreational activity. And we can use also the tertiary level treated wastewater in lakes and boats and ponds that are used for swimming and snorkeling. So there are different applications that we can reuse the treated wastewater in our environment and in our community. Not only of that, in some cases, a closed loop recycling system have been developed to treat water from a single process streams and recycle the water based on the same process with some additional makeup water. For example, NASA have evaluate and recommend reuse of water during long duration space mission, where in the space station, the astronauts, the wastewater that generates in the space station can be treated and can be recycled and reused in the space station for different applications. Besides the wastewater, we can use the wastewater as a source of precious metals. As I mentioned earlier, that industrial wastewater contains a huge amount and concentration of different metals. Different industry, such as mining, metals plating, batteries, and filterizers contains high concentration of heavy metals. Different precious metals, such as silver, gold, and platinum can be found in these streams, and we can recover and extract all of these metals from these streams using different methods such as chemical precipitation, coagulation, ion exchange, membrane filtration, absorption, electrochemical treatment, and photocatalysis. All of these technology can be used to extract and recover these plates or these metals from wastewater. And by recovering these metals, it's a source of income. So we can sell these metals, and it's very expensive. So we can create a new source of income. And instead of waste, it can now a source of income. Furthermore, the wastewater, most of recent research have focused on recover or extract energy from wastewater. Wastewater contains a huge amount of energy in different forms, such as chemical, thermal, and kinetic energy. The chemical energy contained in wastewater has been estimated approximately to be between 10 to 14 kilojoule per gram of COD, while thermal energy could yield about 21 to 30 megajoule per meter cube, which equivalent to 5.8 kilowatt hour per meter cube. It's a huge amount of energy that can be extracted from wastewater. The energy stored in wastewater is about 6 to 9 times higher than the electrical energy needed for treatment. So if we can extract all of that energy, we can sustain the operation of the treatment process, the treatment plant, without adding any source of energy. So the treatment plant can be sustained by itself and can be operated directly without any source of energy. Different technology have been discovered, have been used recently, such as microbial fuel cell and microbial electrolysis cell, that have been used to generate energy in terms of electricity or in terms of hydrogen gas. And as we all know that hydrogen gas is a very effective gas that can be used in different applications to generate energy. In addition of that, we can, as I said earlier, that we have 1% of solid materials that can be collected from the wastewater treatment plant, and we call that is a sludge. A sludge is the solid particles that collected from the each or from during the all treatment process in the treatment plant, and that's the solid particle which is known as sludge, is a very toxic, and it contains different metals and different contaminants. We can use that sludge for generate energy or for using as a filterizer. There are different technologies such as anaerobic digestion that can use the sludge to generate energy by convert the organic materials in the sludge and convert it to methane gas. And methane gas can produce or can be converted to energy, electricity, or heat. Also, after a proper treatment of the sludge, we can use the sludge as a filterizers for the crops. So we are converting the waste from wastewater into a useful products that can be used in different applications. And if we can summarize all of these items or all of these products from industrial wastewater, from the municipal wastewater, from the sewage wastewater, and the leachate wastewater, all kind of these waters contains different useful products. They contain solid products such as nutrients, such as nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, and also they contain heavy metals. All of these solid particles or solid items that can be used for agriculture, filterizers, or can be used for industrial use. Also, all of these types of wastewater can also have a liquid useful items such as biofuel, reuse water, chemicals that can be extracted from the municipal and industrial wastewater and can be used for transportation, watering urban park, direct potable water, livestock watering, fire control, and industrial uses. Furthermore, we can also get gases from all of these types of wastewater. We can get a biogas, biomethane, biohydrogen, which can be converted to energy and can be used for wastewater treatment plant, used for industrial uses, used for transportation, where there are new cars that working on hydrogen gases. Also, we can get energy from wastewater in terms of bioelectricity and can be used in domestic and industrial transportation. So there are different kinds of wastewater and different kinds of useful products that can be extracted and recovered from wastewater, beside the treated wastewater, which can be used for different applications in our daily life. So wastewater is a very variable source. So we have just to look at it in a different point of view. Instead of waste, we have to look at it in a source of useful items. I hope that was a clear presentation, and I know it was very brief, but I hope that you enjoyed and you get a new information from wastewater and the types of wastewater, the technology, the process that we use, the wastewater treatment plant in Kuwait, and how can we reuse the treated wastewater in our community. Thank you so much for your time and listening to me. I hope that you had a great time, and please let me know if you have any question. Don't hesitate to ask as much question as you want.
Well, that was amazing. Thank you, Dr. Abdullah. When you think wastewater, I thought we were just going to be looking at pictures of sewers or dirty water. So thank you for that, because I was really thinking that's what we were going to be looking at, but you showed a totally different side of it. And for our dear viewers, one second, sorry. If you have any questions or input, please type them into the chat and we will start answering them soon. And while you are typing your questions, we actually had a few during the talk, so I'm going to start with those. All right, so Dr. Abdullah, our first question is, what exactly are brackish wells?
Well, brackish water it's a type of it's a water between the potable water, which is a clean water, and the seawater, which is high salinity water. So the brackish water, it contains salt, but it's not like a seawater.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
With the medium range of salts.
Mm-hmm. So we have an interesting question. It says, how do we get rid of, oh, sorry, are you?
No, we call it in Kuwaiti ماي سليبي. I have no idea if you know about ماي سليبي.
Oh.
The ماي سليبي is the brackish water in English.
Oh, okay, it makes sense now, because for the person who asked this question, my slavey is brackish wells. Also, as I was saying, thank you for that, Dr. Abdullah. We have an interesting question, and it is, how do we get rid of the stigma that wastewater is gross and that no one wants to use it?
I couldn't get the question again, please.
The person asked, there is a stigma about wastewater, that it is gross and no one wants to use it. How can we change people's outlook on that before we can actually implement all of the ideas you have said?
If we educate people that wastewater is the source of valuable items, such as metals, such as energy. Also, we have a new vision in Kuwait that in 2035, that 15% of our energy demand should be from sustainable sources, such as solar energy. We can also use a sludge or wastewater as a source of energy. So we have to educate people. We have to show them that wastewater is a source of useful items. So we have to look at that, and it's a source of income.
So this person asked, what can I do on a personal level to reuse the wastewater at home?
Well, to be honest, let's say we can use small filters. There are small filters that can be purchased from the market, which can treat not a highly contaminated wastewater, because we can divide the wastewater into black water and the gray water. The black water, it's the water that contains the wastewater from toilets, but the gray water, which is the water comes from the sinks, which just contains detergents. So we can take the gray water and treat it at home, and we can reuse it in irrigation or gardening, or you can use it for washing cars. So it depends on your connection at home or the network of your piping at home. So it's very easy. You can apply that. You can purchase a normal filter and you can install it at your house, and you can treated wastewater in the gardening.
Okay.
That's in the personal level.
Yeah. I hope everyone does actually do that. And our other question is 4 water treatment plants enough for Kuwait, or do we need more?
Well, there are a new treatment plant under construction, but because we have a new different mega cities such as Al-Matla, Al-Khairan now, there are different treatment plants are under construction. So in the current situation, yes, the 4 main treatment plant is enough for Kuwait. And besides, for the 4 main treatment plant, we have one industrial treatment plant that's located in Al-Wafra, which treats only the industrial waste that generated at a different industry in Kuwait. But the answer, yes, the 4 main treatment plant is enough for Kuwait.
Okay. So why do we need to maintain microbial flux? What happens if we don't?
Well, if we don't, so there is no, as I mentioned before, that's activated sludge, which is the main process in the wastewater treatment plant, is operated based on bacteria. So the main process is the degradation of organic matter using bacteria. So without the flux of bacteria, there is no treatment, there is no removing of contaminants, there is no reduction of any pollutants in the wastewater. So bacteria to survive, it needs to eat the pollutants and the contaminants in wastewater. So we have to maintain that bacteria alive and provide that with enough oxygen to survive and to continually eat and degrade the organic matter or the pollutant and the wastewater.
Mm-hmm. So what exactly is reverse osmosis?
Reverse osmosis is, in Arabic, we call التناضح العكسي, which we use a specific type of membrane with a specific type of pressure that we use, that we insert the water in the membrane, and the membrane, it's exactly like a piece of hair, a very small, tiny piece of hair with a small pores. The water goes inside the piece of hair, and this, and it's all the impurities and the contaminants is stuck in that hair, and the clean water goes from the small pores. So that's the reverse osmosis. It's about a very tiny hair with a small pore of holes, and its attack or attract all the impurities, so nothing will go out. It produces a very potable or pure H2O. That's what we called it, a reverse osmosis.
Okay. Our next question is, can anything removed from the wastewater be reused or recycled for something good, like medicine?
Yes, of course. We can use, as I mentioned before, we can treat the wastewater based on the application. We have to understand what's the application, what we use to treat the wastewater, and exactly in what. So based on the application, we will design a treatment unit or a wastewater treatment plant that can treat that wastewater and produce a very good water with a high quality water that can be used for different applications, even in the medicine industry.
And our final question for the night is the chemical energy from wastewater safe, or can it actually mutate into something else?
No, it's very safe, but we have to select a proper technology that can extract the energy in terms of chemical energy, thermal energy, or kinetic energy in wastewater and convert it to electricity or heat. So it depends on the application. In the current situation or in the research now are focusing on as I mentioned, microbial fuel cell and the microbial electrolysis cell, which are very effective, but in a small scale now. The most recent research are focusing to enlarge or to upgrade the scale from the lab scale to pilot scale or to real scale to extract a very large amount of energy from wastewater in terms of thermal or chemical or kinetic energy into real energy. So it depends on the process or it depends on the technology used to extract the energy from wastewater.
All right. So that was our last question. And thank you, Dr. Abdullah, for showing us a totally different outlook on wastewater. And to everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. And we hope that you enjoyed today's seminar. And we hope to be able to see you soon at Sheikh Abdullah Al-Salim Cultural Center, where you can learn more about today's topic by seeing our amazing exhibits at the museums. And stay updated for our upcoming events by following us on our social media accounts, which I have put in the chat down below. And have a good night, everyone. And Dr. Abdullah, thank you again so much.
Thank you so much, Al-Anoud. I want to thank also Sheikh Abdullah Al-Salim Cultural Center for this opportunity, and have a good day.